our election today, for all Australians and for those here in this room tonight, let us remember grieving families for those who have lost loved ones in Afghanistan. These are the courageous sons of Australia. Let us never forget them or their families. Members of our local community, members of the great Australian Labor Party. Today, right across our nation, we have had hundreds of candidates and members, thousands of our party members, tens of thousands of our members and supporters out there in the field of battle, standing for the cause of Labor as we have stood for 100 years. You, here in this room, and all of them across Australia, are the standard bearers of our movement. Standard bearers for the values for which we have stood for more than a century. Values of a fair go for all. Values of decency and compassion for those who need a helping hand. And values of building our great nation, Australia. Values for which we have stood since the first federal election was held in 1901. I would salute each and every one of those standard bearers across our nation today. Standard bearers who have stood in the line of battle and have seen members fall and have seen candidates doing it tough, really tough. I say to each and every one of them that they do our movement proud, and let us stand by them. I would like to thank the good people of Griffith. This is a wonderful community, and I am proud once again to be able to represent it in the Parliament of the Commonwealth of Australia. I thank the good people of Griffith. This is a wonderful community. The people who represent the PNFs, the PNCs, the local sporting groups, who I've got to know now over a decade and a half and more, they are the heart and soul of our community, and their type makes up the heart and soul of Australia. I thank them for the honour of representing them in our Parliament. Friends, my scrutineers tell us that in this electorate of Griffith, in what has been a hard election, we have taken a swing against us of between 1% and 2%. I'm told also by our scrutineers that the Liberals have suffered a primary vote swing against them of 1%.
Now, we're cutting away from Kevin Rudd at this point because it would seem that he's talking very much about issues in the seat of Griffith and very much to his Griffith constituency, and it could go on for some time. And I'm not sure whether at any point he's going to turn his attention to the national picture and some of those questions that might be running through all our minds. But if he says anything of a national nature, we will record it and come back to it. But in the meantime, we've got some interesting things continuing to happen in any number of seats, and we've got our first figures coming in from Western Australia. But we're going to quickly look at the seat of Macquarie in New South Wales, very much in play. This was Bob Davis's seat. He's retired, ALP margin only 0.3%. With 60% of the vote counted, where this is very much in doubt.
Yeah, well, I'd given this away early in the evening, and at this stage, it's back in the doubtful column. Louise Marcus is well ahead there. Susan Templeman well behind on first preferences. Big vote for the Greens. But you do need to know where this electorate has got two completely different ends, one which was in Macquarie and one which was in Greenway. And I'm having some difficulty working out exactly where some of these booths are. There's a lot of booths from the Blue Mountains yet to come in, and I'm not sure what that effect that has, but we're seeing a 0.8% swing. Louise Marcus is ahead on 50.5 is our current prediction. She's ahead. We're not giving that seat away, so Macquarie remains in doubt.
OK, we're going to take a look at another very doubtful, well, it was a doubtful seat, but not anymore. This is the seat of Latrobe. Melbourne's outer east and south east was held by Jason Woods since 2004 for the Liberals. Was a margin of 0.5%. We've now got 72% of the vote counted. Slight swing to the ABC and to the ALP. And that's the second time I've done this in 10 years. I wish those. I wish those letters weren't so similar.
Well, just to make you feel better, this is the gentleman who became an international, worldwide YouTube hit for talking about genetically modified orgasms in the Parliament. Anyway.
Not going to make quite the same parallel.
No. Jason Wood's ahead on the first preferences vote. There's quite a vote there for the Greens on 12.5%. We have a preference count in 42 of the 48 booths, and what's to come is mainly pre-poll voting centres. And at this stage, there's a 1.4% swing to the Labor Party. We've got it marked down as a Labor Party gain at this stage. Labor is far enough ahead on this predicted number to say that Laura Smith may go on to win that seat for as a lawyer. I think there'll be a fair bit more counting in that, and he is the sitting member.
And he is exactly the sitting member of that.
Okay, now there's also a remarkable story to be told in the seat of Robertson, because this is in the state of New South Wales on the Central Coast, takes in Gosford. And this is in the state which has swung solidly against Labor. Very marginal seat for Labor, 0.1%. They lost their sitting member, but there's been a 1.1% swing to Labor.
This looks like a seat where the loss of the sitting member factor has helped the Labor Party. Deborah O'Neill was pre-selected, defeating Belinda Neal, the Labor Party member, who of course had a series of problems during the last term of Parliament. Deborah O'Neill is behind there on the first preferences, but a substantial vote there with the Greens. We have a preference count in 44 of the 50 booths. It's a swing of 1.1% to Labor. That won't be turned around. The Labor Party will go on to win Robertson.
Okay, now, Stephen, you're on. This is the man here who's got. Show us, come on. He's got one phone to his ear and he's working the BlackBerry with the thumb. Are you learning anything?
Just hang on. Just early results in Perth, including my own seat. Still early results in Canning, but a swing our way. Hasluck, one small booth, but a swing of less than 1%, which is a good sign. Swan, a small booth, but a swing away from us. In my own seat, in a couple of small booths, there's a drop in our primary vote and increased vote for the Greens. A lot of that is coming back. But in a couple of small booths, which are to my west, so near Stirling, there's a 3 or a 4% swing against us to PP. That doesn't augur well for Stirling, but what I need is to get a booth in my northeast to make some parallels or some predictions in terms of Cowan and also Hasluck. But on the very small stuff that's in so far, swing against us in Hasluck, but at this stage slow enough to sustain, but very early days. And Canning too hard to tell whether the swing is big enough to dislodge the member. I've also always thought the swing against me in Perth will be bigger, I think, than in the marginal seats. I think we'll have a bigger swing against us in Freo, Brand and Perth than we will in the marginals because of the tight sort of competition and contest in those marginal seats.
What's your gut feeling? If you were just pretend for a moment that you're actually sitting back in Perth.
Gut feeling? Maybe hang on in Hasluck, fall short in Swan, and maybe jag Canning.
Can I make a prediction? It's currently looking like Labor 73, Coalition 72, 1 Green and 4 Independents.
And are you counting Denison as one of the 4 independents?
Yep.
And
will make for a very interesting.
Which seats in the West have you got in that mix?
That's assuming not much change in Western Australia.
Well, any change?
If the Labor lost a seat, say they lost Swan, which is a possibility,
yeah.
That's what I'm talking about with 73, 74. I can't see Labor, unless some of those seats like Greenway and Lindsay, the change in the postal vote pushes Labor back in front in some of those seats. I can't see Labor getting to 76, but equally, I can't see the Coalition getting to 76 at the moment. They're still behind.
We are heading for a hung parliament, and a very unpredictable hung parliament, because we've got in play the possibility not only of a new Greens member for the seat of Melbourne, but a new independent in the seat of Denison in Tasmania, with a background in Green politics, and a big question mark about where Andrew Wilkie would sit in any discussion about who he'd support for government. And then you've got the other 3 independents who, although they have Conservative backgrounds, would not automatically go into the Conservative camp. This is a very line ball situation for both major parties. after a fascinating campaign. I know a lot of Australians were frustrated by it and expressed their displeasure at the quality of debate, but nonetheless it's been a fascinating campaign.
And if we are able to be objective about it, a fascinating night.
And at this stage, the resulting Grayndler is still in doubt. Anthony Albanese.
This is Grayndler, which traditionally has been a safe Labor seat in Sydney's inner west, held by Anthony Albanese, the Minister for Infrastructure in the Rudd, then Gillard government.
The preference count being conducted by the Electoral Commission tonight is between Labor and Liberal, and the Labor and Liberal, between Labor and Liberal, the Liberal and Green candidates are swapping second and third.
What's Albo's primary vote?
He will win. He's got 46.8.
He'll win on that. Yeah, he's got to slip below 42, 41 to be in danger. 45, 46 primary, he'll win that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we've got Tony Jones. We're going to cross to Tony Jones on the tally room floor with Concetta Fioranti-Wells, Liberal Senator for New South Wales, and Paul Howes of the AWU.
And Paul Howes, I just want you to contemplate this. Julia Gillard trying to cobble together a majority that includes a Green MP in Melbourne and potentially Andrew Wilkie, the former Green whistleblower, who looks like that he might take Denison. What does that kind of government look like, and what sort of pressure is it going to be on the Prime Minister?
Well, it's an amazing result if that's the case. I mean, look, the last figures I saw in Denison, there was only 100 votes between the Liberal candidate and Andrew Wilkie. If the Liberal candidate overtakes Andrew Wilkie, then that would be well, presumably a pretty safe retain for Labor. I don't think we could actually put that firmly in as an Andrew Wilkie win yet.
But just contemplate this strange hung parliament that we look like we're headed for, and how do you see Labor creating a majority out of this cobbled together group of independents, Greens and a former Green, potentially?
Well, Adam Bant's already said how which party he would support, and clearly he would support the Labor Party. In terms of Andrew Wilkie, you'd presume that he'd be more likely to swing towards Labor than the coalition. But the three independents, well, four independents possibly now, but the three independents, Rob Oakeshott, Bob Katter and Tony Windsor. Tony Windsor's obviously got experience in dealing with hung parliaments when he was a member of the New South Wales Legislative Assembly in the early 90s when Bob Carr had a minority government. It'd be interesting to see how he goes.
But what I'm talking about here is how would it change the flavour of the government? How would it change it philosophically? Have that kind of pressure, and when you add to that the very strong potential of having the Greens controlling the Senate as well?
Well, this will not be politics like we've ever seen before in the National Parliament. This is a game changer tonight. We are seeing a very unusual result, very good for Labor in some states and terrible for Labor in others, and just plain bizarre in places like Tasmania. All eyes, I think, are on WA at the moment. If Labor does well in Hasluck and Swan, very positive early signs coming out of Canning. That could change the game, but certainly I think if you were a betting man, you'd bet right now on a hung parliament.
All right, Connie Fioranti-Wells, give us your sort of take on what this strange new world might look like.
Well, first of all, before I do, can I just say Bennelong, I've just been told, has definitely been won by the coalition. I'm very, very pleased about that. But can I just say, surely, Paul, you must have contemplated, I mean, the fact that you did this deal with the Greens, which both Bob Brown and Julia Gillard have been at pains to deny. You must have contemplated in that deal that we could see a further lurch to the left. And so I think what this make-up would do is certainly see Australia lurching much further to the left.
And how from your point of view, how ironic would that be, given Tony Abbott's philosophical position and how close he is already to forming a government himself, potentially?
Well, of course, what we will see is that we'll certainly get a carbon tax, we'll certainly get a mining tax. Australia will change very much in that way. But that is the reality of politics, if that's what's dished up. But
sounded pretty good to me.
Well, it's certainly what I will say.
Can I just hear Paul
I was just going to say
in public?
One thing that is likely to happen: the soap opera that the Labor Party has now become will certainly very much continue, because the recriminations, I think, that will start in the